Hello there, and welcome to Corey Loses, where today we're going to be starting a brand new preview series in Thrawn's Revenge Imperial Civil War 2.3. This time we're going to be taking a look at the new Corporate Sector Authority playable faction. So this is a faction that we had in 2.2, but it wasn't playable at that point, and it lacked a lot of content that it is now getting. So there's a bunch of new units and some new planets and a bunch of other stuff to look at as we go through the playthrough here. So there are three quick points I wanted to talk about before we get into it. We are going to be playing on Empire's End, which is about 142 planets now. We've added a few and moved stuff around. There's a new layout to the map, so we're going to take a look at that as well. But the first thing is that everything that you're seeing right now, or as we go through the playthrough, is currently still in progress, especially with the Corporate Sector Authority itself. This is probably the most in progress a faction has been in any of the preview playthroughs that I've done so far on the channel throughout 2.2. Because even with all the warlords, when we were originally testing them, they were still using a lot of Imperial stuff, so all the units had been tested to some extent, and there were a few new ones mixed in. Whereas with this, basically their entire ground roster is new, and their space roster has a bunch of new stuff. So this will probably be one of the playthroughs where things change the most as we go through it, and I'll try to talk you guys through what's planned, what's done so far, what's not done so far. Big thing is icons. None of the icons for the new units are done yet, but that should hopefully change over the next week or so. The second thing I want to talk about is Mod of the Year. So the Mod of the Year competition is currently going on Mod Database. So if you see anything you like during the playthrough, or you want to support the stuff we've done over the last year, there's a link in the description. And if you want to vote for us in that, we'd appreciate it. And the third thing, finally, before we get started here, is when I do these preview playthroughs, I have something called patron ship names that I do. I'll get it started. Where patrons, which is there's a site called Patreon where you're able to basically do voluntary subscriptions for content creators that you enjoy. And one of the rewards that I give out for that, for the patrons, or a way to thank the patrons rather, is in these preview playthroughs, I do these ships here, which have custom names and custom fighter loadouts that are picked by the patrons of the channel. So basically, the patrons are what allows me to do this as my job, spend as much time as I do making these videos, as well as the mods. So if you'd like to look into that or get a ship yourself, this is, again, stuff that's just for the playthrough. It's not something that gets released with the mod, just as a way to give back a little bit to the people who make this possible for me to do. So if you are interested in that, there's a link in the description. You can check that out. So, all right. So now we're going to get into the playthrough. As you can see here, we have our own little cluster of planets. In previous versions, the only CSA planets we've had were Bonneton, Eddy, and Ession, and they were kind of spread out a bit more. Slorny has gone through and added, I think, 5 or 6 new corporate sector planets. 3 or 4 of which are here. We have Oron, Mario, Safalor, and Atshorb. And a lot of the planet locations have changed. We've made it a bit more canon friendly, and we've also gone through and redone the travel routes throughout the GCs to reflect that, and we have a bit better flow as you go through the scenario here. So we only have 3 heroes currently, which are Angela Kryn, who you may recognize if you've played as Warlord Zinj in 2.2. We also have Baruch Sloan, which is this one, who has a VSD1 called Enforce. And we have Jonah Grumpy, who controls the VSD1 Natropus. There are going to be other CSA heroes, they're just not done yet. I don't know if we'll be able to add them to the playthrough as we go through, but there will be a news post coming up soon with all the CSA heroes. So let's just put our fleet together here, and we'll get over to DeSevro, try to get into a battle quickly here. We have Invincible. Where's the Gozantes? We have Gozantes. And let's go and take a look. So their space units, their main capitals are the Lucrehulk, the Invincible, and the Bulwark. I don't think we'll have a Bulwark 3 in this battle. Oh wait, no, I think Jonah Grumpy actually does have a Bulwark 3. That tooltip is wrong. There's our Gozantes. They come in groups of 3, little squadrons. None of the new units have their VOs done yet, so... I'm not sure when Waylawful is actually going to be able to get through and do another set of VOs. Basically what we do for those is we put out a call for whoever wants to submit basically test lines, and then anyone who has like a suitable voice and suitable mic, which is the winning combination, we basically send out the scripts to, and he handles that whole thing. He tries to do it in batches. So there should be another one coming up, I'm just not sure when. The Dreadnought, the new Dreadnought model for this release, and Angela Kryn. So this is the Invincible class Dreadnought. It's a very old ship, so it's not quite as powerful as its size might indicate, but they're pretty good. It's one of the main new units of the CSA. We have Lucrehawks, which are another one of our main units, one of the main capital ships, and the Bulwarks. So it's kind of a weird looking faction. They use a lot of old stuff. The Bulwark and the Lucrehawk being obviously old CIS units. So they have a lot of fighters too. They have a lot of new fighters. So these are the number 2 Warpod. There are Skip Rays, Z95, sorry, I'm Canadian, I have to say it properly. There's the station back there, so let's get... Oh, they're leaving. Citadels. Just send our stuff in. But Lucrehawks have actually been buffed quite a bit. They don't have more hard points, but the hard points they do have are much better. Their single turbo lasers have been swapped for quads. I don't know if the text actually reflects that yet. But the projectiles will. And they are a lot more durable. So they have almost twice as many shield points. They have a better armor and shield type as well. So they should be actually useful now, which they definitely weren't before.
Gunship reporting.
There are 2 more fighter types that we haven't done yet. So they have the IRD, IRDA, which are done, but I don't know if they're coded in yet. So we'll see them next episode. Probably not this episode. They have the number 2 Warpod. They have, which is the one we just showed earlier, Z95.
Weapons ready.
Then I think the 2 that aren't done are the T-Wing and the Mankvim 418, which is another CIS fighter type. Skip Rays as well. But another thing I've been thinking of is if what they have right now with the number 2 Warpod and the Skip Ray aren't enough in terms of bombers for them, we might end up putting in the what's it called? The Y-Wing, the Clone Wars version of the Y-Wing specifically. So, like the one with the armor panels. The BTLB? Is that the BTLB or is it the other way around? Either way. So let's take a look quickly actually at the ground roster here. So, like I said, icons aren't done for them yet, but they have Droideka, they have the ATPT, or actually no, this is the Espo Walker, it's not the ATPT, it's just using the ATPT icon. These are actual Hailfire tanks. This is the AirTech battle platform, so it's the thing that Garm has in the base game. That's the name of the class, so the Gargantuan. Then we have the SX-20 Air Skimmer, which is a little flying round bikey thingy. X-10 Ground Cruiser, which is one of their main units. I guess I'd say it's sort of like their T2B kind of deal. JX-40 Jail Speeder. These are all things you're going to see for the playthrough. Strikebreaker, K-222 Aero Interceptor, which is their air speeder. GX-12 Hover Van, which is a transport. Most of the units can actually serve as transports as well. And the NR-N99 Persuader class Droid Enforcer, or the Snail Droid, or Snail Tank, whichever you want to call it, and B-1 Battle Droids. Then they have Espos, which are currently using the Army Trooper icon, and Plex Soldiers, which are currently the New Republic ones. So we'll try to get as many of those building as we can, and I'll try to queue up a few patron units here as well. So let's start with a... I think we'll start with an Invincible, which is what these guys are. Yeah. So let's get Wraith, and we'll get some cruisers here. Let's get a Bulwark 1 with Shippy McShipface and Sensational. And let's land. I think, so some of the starting forces still need to be adjusted. These used to be border or like the back of the line planets, Telos and Severo, that weren't as accessible. So I think both of those are currently set up as economic planets for Zinj. So this will probably be relatively easy for these first two planets. We're kind of a small fact. Did I remember to set it to hard? Hold on. Game. We're on Admiral. Okay. False alarm.
Reporting.
So they have those icons, but they are proper ESPOs. These squads work a little differently. Basically, we're testing out a lot of our ground changes with some of the CSA stuff. So you can see they have an overall commander unit here, which will give some bonuses, and the sergeants and lieutenants, or whatever, captains, I think it's a captain, is going to have, for the CSA, they're going to have the flechette launchers from Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy had them, I think. So that'll be something new for them. And that'll be a change that's applied to all the factions in the mod. Changes to how the infantry work and all that. So Strikebreaker, a lot of their units fly too, which is also fairly different. Then we have, these are the X-10 ground cruisers. So they can be a very weird looking faction, which I kind of like. It's very different from what you'd see in the rest of the mod. This is the Strikebreaker. Oh, we already had a Strikebreaker. So that is also a Strikebreaker.
Receiving orders. Support order acknowledged.
They're directly under, so they want to go over there. There's a Tusken camp here, which is probably not supposed to be there on Severo. Rogue is going through and trying to make as many unique maps as he can, so we don't have to double up.
Roger that. As you wish.
And I think there's been probably like 16 new ones so far.
Awaiting orders. Copy.
And so a lot of ground units for the CSA are slug thrower based. They're basically, they're not a real military, a lot of their stuff. So it's like riot police essentially, and very, very heavily armed riot police. So they're more about repression. And
Command received.
there's a lot of physical projectiles in that. So let's see, what do we got? SX-20 Air Skimmer Squad. And JX-40 Jail Speeder. We can get some more ESPOs in here. But another thing we've started working on is different base layouts. Or not necessarily layouts, but different base structures. So each planet is now going to have a local planetary capital, which right now don't do very much, but they will eventually be a basically a container for us to use Lewis crypts, and these need to be scaled down a little bit. You can see they're quite a bit bigger than the actual soldiers, but there'll be a way for us to find the planets on the galactic map and have some planetary administration stuff through them. I talked a little bit, I think, in the last playthrough about some ideas we had for a New Republic Senate kind of deal and some gameplay mechanics that come out of that. And that's basically what it's going to be done for each faction. We're going to try to work out different governing mechanics. And that's something that's going to be not in 2.3 necessarily. We're going to start working on it for 2.3. It'll probably be rolled out for each faction sequentially. So we're going to try to have the CSAs done for 2.3. But for the New Republic, they might get in 2.3, maybe 2.4. There's a lot of work to do on that. But we hope it'll add some extra depth to the galactic map. Give you something to do with your planets other than just capture them, and maybe it'd be part of making each planet a bit more unique as well. So there's a lot we want to do with that.
We've located the enemy.
Yeah, so this is just
Armed and ready.
an admin planet. And you can see here, this is the Moff Palace. So for the Imperials, it's the Moff Palace. For the New Republic, it's the Senator's Office. For the CSA, I think I just called it the local HQ right now. Yeah, so they're also going to have pretty significant garrisons, which aren't in yet. That is quite a long bombing run.
Roger that. Awaiting orders.
Some of the hard points on the CSA vehicles are a little bit off right now, I think, as well. So you might see some weirdness with their targeting. And that's going to be one of the things that I try to work on throughout the
Let's go.
playthrough, getting them a little bit more
Target.
consistent with that. So let's orbitally bombard this. So yeah, if you like a lot of flying units, then CSA is definitely a good option. And a lot of our CSA units are being shared with Phoenix Rising. Evil Bob the Bob being the developer for Phoenix Rising, who's also a developer for EAW, or for not EAW, for Thrawn's Revenge. Sorry, it's late. I'm tired. But yeah, so he made most of the ground units. I think all of the ground units, actually. And then we've made a couple of the space units, he's made a couple of the space units, and we're sharing those resources back and forth between the two mods.
Targeting.
Are all my... Yeah, I think all my Espos died. Let's move over. Okay, so I think the Strikebreaker in particular has some weirdly oriented stuff. I'll have to check the firing arcs on some of these.
Bombing run. Awaiting orders. Copy.
There we go. I definitely want to get a snail tank in here.
Planetary control achieved.
There's DeSevero, our first place. And you can also see the income slowly counts up. So that one has all of our units on it, so you can see the maintenance. But instead of immediately gaining all the income from a planet, it slowly counts up to its full amount. And one of the things that the planetary or the local offices also does is immediately bumps it up to full. So once you put in that basic starting investment, it moves up.
Lancet proceeding.
Let's also get
Vehicle in
get
production.
2 persuaders there, 2 battle droids. There were a couple ground patron units that I just haven't coded in yet. I'm going to have all the other patrons coded in that I haven't done yet. I have about half that are done, half that aren't. So for episode 2, anything that's not in yet will be. So what do we have here? Wraith is done. Let's get Wraith in. And actually, I'll just pause quickly and go through the galaxy a bit. So Liana is now an independent planet. Intermedius has always been independent. That's how Maldruid gets those extra heroes. We have Mandalore, which is controlled by the Mandalorians, so it's independent. Then we also have now the Corellian sector is independent unless you start in, I think, Era 4, because they had weird relationships with people. And Mord is independent, Cal is independent. Bakura starts off independent, as a warlord faction. And then you have Hut Space, which is currently independent units, but will eventually, in another release, be developed into the actual huts. So I think that covers most of the faction changes for that. The Vitha are now part of the independent forces rather than their own thing as well. So let's leave that. And since we have De Severo, I think we'll go to
Mauler ready.
Liana. A lot of these have pretty sparse starting forces right now. Mandalore's a little bit higher, but that'll all probably increase a lot. A lot of the independent places are going to be used as kind of early buffer zones. Ways to stop some of the factions from immediately being up against a wall with too many other surrounding factions, while also providing some bigger early battles, which is something that can be lacking. Right now, it's just the 5 Dreadnoughts, which isn't the biggest early battle.
Choose your reinforcements.
Now let's send in Kryn.
Reinforcements en route.
Send in Wraith.
Reinforcements en route.
Get some Citadels in, which are kind of like Gozantes in terms of what they do.
Reinforcements cancelled.
Lucre Hulk.
Reinforcements en route.
VSDs.
Destination confirmed. The lasers are our target.
And I think we'll throw another VSD there.
Cruiser here.
Gozantes.
Full speed.
Go kill something.
Active. Advance. Yes, sir.
Just some simple Dreadnought killing.
Fire on the engines.
We'll send in some of our Lucre Hulks over here. So as you can probably tell from the roster, it can be a bit difficult for them
Shortly.
with direct battleship to battleship kind of fights. They're going to rely a bit on their fighters, and their larger capital ships are more about absorbing damage than doing it.
At your command.
So a little bit of similarity to the Pentastar alignment in that way, but the PA does have a bit more heavy firepower and not as much tankiness. So that's just sort of
Position.
their general MO. And again, much like the
Instructions received.
Attack.
I don't remember what I was going to say at the start of that sentence.
I'm hit. I'm running out of maneuvers.
Enemies in range. Reporting in. Pressing the
So yeah,
I'm losing
something
my
though,
engine.
definitely something.
We'll hit the engine.
Ready for duty.
Got that.
Coming around. I've got them in my sights.
I'm getting torn apart.
Coming back around for another run.
Basically, with the Lucre Hulk, we've used the pre-Clone Wars visuals for it because it felt like that fits the CSA a little bit better. But we have upped it to the proper battleship armament. We don't have any weapons on the core yet. I think we'll probably add some lasers. I don't know if they're going to be targetable or not,
The lasers are
because they're not the most effective things in there. Just some anti-fighter, probably. Because the other option with that is to put in the what's it called? The point defense ability for them. I haven't decided which way we're going to go with that yet.
destroyed the
We
ship.
haven't really discussed it.
Form up. Get behind it. I got one.
Oh, that's the thing I was going to say. So they do have, a lot of their ships do have good physical weaponry in space, so on ground and in space. The Invincibles have a lot of assault concussion missiles, which can be quite good for fighting SSDs on top of all their bombers and fighters, like the Skip Ray and the number 2 Warpod. So SSDs aren't something they're going to worry about too much, but oh, we lost a victory. But the
Command received.
higher range capital ships, something like a Nebula or an IST-2, is probably going to be a bit more of a problem for them. What did we build there? That's our Persuader. I haven't actually used these in game at all yet, so I'm looking forward to that, but also not looking forward to that, because if they're broken, that's going to be very sad. I'm not the one that coded them.
attack.
Uh,
Ready for attack.
I'm pretty sure Jordan has used them in game, but I haven't. It's not like I just coded them and was like, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. We test the stuff we do. All right. Let's see if we blow up.
I copy.
It sounded a lot like I was suggesting Jordan doesn't test the stuff.
Squad,
But
move
I
out.
just meant that
Right away, sir.
that's why I'm not aware if it works.
An abandoned turret tower.
Okay, that's new. Strikebreaker. We have 4 Strikebreakers already. Let's bring in our X10s and some Persuaders. It seems fairly big, but I think they're actually like 6 meters tall. So that might be correct.
Squad, advance.
Battalion standing by. War ready.
Oh, I don't think. Yeah, their treads don't. Their treads aren't set up yet. I do remember that. But that's them. I really like the model. Okay, so this is definitely a bit too big.
Scanning for enemies. Reporting.
Because that's probably closer to. 9 meters, maybe? No, it's close. Probably a little too big. I'd have to go into the map editor and check. I can stack some people in their heads. They're quite fast, too. That's probably not a change.
I've got them on scopes. Awaiting orders. Copy. I copy. There they are.
I guess there's a bit of a Fall in the Republic
Course.
preview.
Right away. Moving out. Reporting.
Yeah, so they'll need some of the motion changes and stuff that he'd started with the other factions,
Yes, Commander.
and they are a bit squishy.
Ready for orders. Destination ahead. I come. Ready for your orders, sir.
Yay, pathfinding.
Battalion standing by. At the ready. Let's move out. Let's go. Fire. Keep going. We'll cover this way.
Oh, shh.
Ready. They're in my sight.
It's gone.
Reporting. Moving into position.
All right, man. Take cover.
Get over here.
Come on, man. This way.
Commence assault.
That's our turret now. Thank you.
Ready to receive orders.
Ready for attack. Reporting. Target confirmed.
Okay, we had the repair thing fixing it, so that was...
The enemy is awaiting orders.
It wasn't gonna kill us.
Roger
It's
that.
still sad.
Press and fire.
Secure an abandoned turbo laser tower.
Weapons online.
Yeah, I think the slug thrower at the back can only target sideways. It can't go all the way forward. It makes it a bit difficult to use. So we'll probably have to change that.
Receiving orders. Awaiting orders. Targeting. As you wish.
Covering
Squadron
fire.
moving out.
Choose your
Heading out.
A jail speeder, get another strikebreaker. You guys can go out this way.
Copy. Lancet
Okay,
proceed.
so they have a bunker.
ready.
Skip ready. Underway. I copy. Reporting. Command received. Give me a target.
Alright, oh,
Yes, sir.
We lost the abandoned
Blast
turbo
them out.
laser tower.
Attacking. Right away.
they are air units, so
Moving out. Heading out. Destination ahead. Engaging. Let's move out. Let's go.
yeah, it's a weirdly shaped vehicle for how EAW targeting works. So we'll have to
Keep going.
play with that a lot.
I have the target in sight. Ready. Lancet targeting. Heading for attack position. Attack. Lancet standing by.
We'll probably end up having to give it closer to 360 degrees targeting for all these guys.
Ready for orders. At the ready. Ready to receive
troopers. Not independent Empire of the Hand. Alright. 4 tanks. Snails. A lot of their accuracy is a bit too low as well. So that'll be... a lot of that stuff is probably going to change between episodes. So it'll probably be like 1 or 2 episodes where they're fairly wonky like that. And then by the end of the 3rd episode, should have a decent idea what's going on with them.
Adjusting course.
Or what needs to be done with them. So let's get
Building under construction.
our capitals there. And turn that into a mining facility. Nope, you thought you could attack because I'd move my stuff away.
The enemy has been spotted. Gargantuan ready. Frequency open. Is here. Engines activated.
Oh, IRDs are in game. There you go. They're funny looking fighters. Much like everything else. I can't remember which is IRD and which is IRDA. But they're basically little space helicopters. Yeah. I think these are the other ones? No, that's the same one.
Roger that.
They are marginally different. The A and the regular IRD.
I read you.
Yeah, so if you want a really weird looking faction, these may just be for you.
Roger that. All right. Form up.
One of the other things that I was hoping to do within the next
For action.
probably month or so is a while ago, so with the patron unit, one of the things that I've done before and that I want to do again was called the Community Challenge playthrough, where I made a map where it was basically we start from one planet and the unit requests are open to anyone instead of just being patrons. It was patrons and any subscriber on YouTube. And then everyone could pick a unit. There were different tiers and groups and stuff. And then I try to do a GC where the only units I have access to are those named ones, and if I can't win with just what's requested, then I lose. And you're kind of limited in what you can build with that as well, because the build bar is only so big. And I want to do that again. I've been trying to work out the logistics to start it in January. So for anyone who wants to get a unit in that as well. And I think I'm going to try to do that once or twice a year, so that there's always that option for people. And then like the bigger capital ships and stuff are usually for patrons, and they can get heroes. And I'm also thinking about doing some like custom skins for units during it as well. And then for like the smaller frigates and the ground units and all that stuff, it's open for everyone.
Copy.
For anyone who wants to participate in that stuff and just isn't able to with the regular ones, that way we always got the preview playthroughs running, which have the named units all the time, and then every so often we have the thing where everyone's able to participate. But that's the plan, at least. So hopefully I'll be able to set that up. I'm going to be home for Christmas. Is that... set it up? This is going to be so much easier when I start getting the icons in. But yeah, so I'm going to be home for Christmas, and I'm probably going to start organizing it then. So there should be a video up in the next couple weeks going over how it'll work and all that. And so basically, if anyone has any suggestions for that or any ideas they want to see tried out for it, then I'd be happy to hear them.
On the move.
Let's go for Telos. Try to take as many of these backwater worlds as we can before getting into the dangerous places. Another funny looking unit for them.
I copy.
Choose your reinforcements.
So Kryn,
en route.
Wraith,
Reinforcements en route.
we'll get our other invincibles in.
Reinforcements en route.
They'll be
Reinforcements en
better
route.
against this. And Lucrehawks.
Reinforcements en route.
Atropus.
Copy. Where's the target?
I'm pretty sure that icon is a picture from Gilligan's Island, so I don't know that it's actually going to stay there.
Time to go. I copy. Changing course.
A lot of these characters for the CSA, they don't really have a picture, or they don't have a great picture, and there's not really that many. So we are going to do, like I said, the We Could Be Heroes news post for them fairly soon. But we'll go over who they do have, and it'll be a bit difficult to get icons sorted out for them, but we'll figure something out.
Choose your reinforcements.
Right away.
Can anyone else see him?
Yeah, you can see just how it's going against individual Golans. How it's going to be probably a little bit difficult for some of the Invincibles to stand up to like an ISD2 unless they're in groups or using their fighters really well. So we'll see how that goes. Of course, there will be balance adjustments made as we go through, but generally based on the spreadsheet, everything is roughly where it should be, and they'll mostly be adjustments for making sure everything's functioning properly.
Can't take another hit like that.
This may be the oldest model, or the biggest difference between the model being done and the unit being put in game. The model was from 2006, and just got in game for the first time this month.
Cover. Where'd he come from?
Reporting. Moving.
Because we'd originally started planning to do the CSA, so when Thrawn Revenge started, there were 3 mods. There was one during the Galactic Civil War called Empire of the Hand, one during post-Endor period called Imperial Civil War, and one during the Clone Wars called Fall of the Republic. And then the plan for Imperial Civil War was to have a version with like the Hapens playable, then a version with the the next gonna be auto resolved. I hate that.
Construction complete.
Okay, sorry, Shippy.
Construction complete.
It's sensational. Oh, actually, what I can do is, just to make sure that's not going to be a problem, we'll send an enforcer, or not enforcer, an Espo somewhere, just alone.
Moving out.
These are ships. This is okay. There's an Espo.
Reporting.
Construction complete.
Send it to Hast. Sorry, but it has to be this way.
Heading out.
Orders received.
Tactical battle imminent.
Oh. Usually it carries over the choice for that when you then cancel the battle with the thing. Right, like selling the thing. And then auto-resolve when there's nothing left. So I really thought that wouldn't work. Okay, let's get that back. Let's get that last one. And we'll get an ion cannon there.
Fleet approaching.
Where? Liana? Did they take...
Tactical battle
Oh, it's going to be... Oh no, Maldred did take Emeritus. Let's cancel that. We'll have to retreat from this. They have Providences, but we can build Lucrehawks. Or Lucrehawks and Recusants.
Look, sir, it's them.
Yeah, as Munificents. So that's like the core 4 CSA units. Or CIS units. I don't know if it was in the last playthrough, but this is the updated Gladiator texture. The model is edited a bit. The turrets are now visible on it. Bob went and redid the skin, which is the biggest thing. So we're going to have to give up Liana.
Retreat in progress.
The way that the GC maps are set up now, especially particularly the air progressive ones, is they use a new way to spawn the forces that was made necessary by the by the air selection mechanic. So, first off, let's get Unrepentant,
In production.
and that's it. But basically, the game starts with every faction only having one structure, and then everything else gets swapped and spawned on. So a lot of the starting forces are in progress still, but we can check what our stats are right now. I think the CSA starts probably a bit stronger than it should. Yeah, we're at 11%. Really, we should probably only be about 6, and that'll probably be accomplished by increasing the starting spawns for the other factions rather than reducing the CSA, just so there's a bit more build up at the start. And we're probably going to concentrate the forces a bit more, so rather than being so spread out and having like 2 ships on each planet, you'll have a few planets that don't really have anything, but you'll have a few that have like the main fleet groups for each faction, and that should be a bit more
Yes, sir.
more exciting
Move out.
or a bit easier for people to use starting off.
Right away.
So this will be the first time we use the Espo Walker as well. I haven't seen that in game yet either.
Heading out. Inbound. Advance. Fallout troops. There they are. Let's move out. Spread out, men.
Okay. They're not currently set to be able to fire while walking, which the Espos probably will, and then the B1s won't.
On my way.
So here we go. These are their version of the like ATST, ATPT kind of deal.
Ready to go. Scouting.
But because of the CSA, they are of course a funnier looking version of it. Can we not? Oh, I guess we gotta go. Oh, we can't go over there. Alright, so I'm gonna send you guys walking around that way. But we'll land a Strikebreaker. We'll actually probably have to land 2 Strikebreakers. We'll do a Strikebreaker and a... Do we have a gel speeder? Yes, we do.
Order acknowledged. Roger. Keep going.
Or if you get in there too, you can get in the other one. We're just gonna fly down the river.
Comlink active.
Reporting in.
Roger that. Over there. Engines activated.
Bombing
Receiving
run
orders.
available.
Form up. As you wish. Squadron moving out. Lancet
Just
proceeding.
go on the water.
Awaiting orders. Command received. Copy. Right away. I copied.
Affirmative. Scanning area. On the move. Scouting area.
Reporting. Moving out.
Reporting
And like I said, I think this is another planet that is fairly lightly defended. We'll probably start getting into their more heavily defended planets. Episode
Yes, sir.
2.
Heading out. Yes, Commander. Destination ahead. Ready.
Can you drop someone there? I can.
Roger that.
Grab that. And we got some B1s going on here. I think they're still scaled a bit too big because we did rescale a lot of stuff. Yeah. So we'll probably have to change that between episodes. They're too big, so I won't use them yet.
Lancet standing by. Aerial artillery reporting. Ready for orders. At the ready.
Yeah, so that's a tax collection agency. Is the capital? Yeah.
Skipway blast boat here.
Attacking target. Fire at will. Let's go.
Lead
Cut
the
through
way.
them.
We'll also have to change the targeting attack distance because it seems like they think they need to be like right up on it.
Check it out.
This way. Over there.
In general, you want to give a bit more range to the ranges in the game. So instead of all being the same, more stuff will be spread out a little bit more. But I think
System control achieved.
with that, we're going to leave it there for today's episode. So tomorrow we're going to have our second episode. We're basically, the way I like to do it for the preview series is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday I'll do an episode. And then usually the posting schedule is going to be Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So 4 episodes a week, possibly 3 sometimes. I'll see what the recordings end up like, but hope you guys are looking forward to the series and have enjoyed this episode. And I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.